Easy, how are we?
Shawnee! I'm back in the land of the... the land of the living, I think.
Was Malaysia not the land of living? Was it the
No,
land
that
of
was
living
holidays.
dead?
That's not real living. That was holiday living. Everyone knows that's a different kind of life.
Oh, so you're back full throttle with the running and the training and building back up again, or you
slowly,
easing back in with the holidays? You 5 weeks off.
I tell you what, it's hard. I don't know. Well, maybe people are better people than me, but when you come off of 5 weeks of laissez-faire lifestyle with no schedule bar the tour, and then it's like, okay, today we're on a diet and we're also running. Just not a chance.
Eric, the majority of people, myself included, only get 4 weeks off a year, so you've related to no one on that one. Oh. Teachers and stuff are like maybe
right.
But they're
to all the school teachers and unemployed people who understand my life. But it's it's just hard because a habit forms. It takes 3 weeks to build a habit, and then you go away for 5 weeks. But yeah, we're slowly getting back. I've set my sights now on kind of a half marathon training plan. That's the goal I'm going to go with. So we spent the week kind of planning what way we're going to take on the next 5 weeks here, and then my next 4 weeks that'll be in Dubai before coming back. So it's going to be somewhat of a half marathon running plan 5 days a week, and then adding in some strength and conditioning that you'd given me, and mixing them in. So it's that's the plan. I still am keeping the speed, which is great. Even from Dunshaughlin, I still have that as a nice base level. It's just a little bit harder, but I know I can do it. So that's it. The aim now is to go a little bit further, but hopefully a little bit faster as well, and be half marathon fit by the start of October. I know a lot of guys training for Dublin are going for marathon fit, but I don't have a marathon, so it's for me the main block starts in November. So to be nicely half marathon fit at a pace that I would like is a good goal, and that's what we've decided on this week.
Yeah, I get you with the speed. 4 or 5 weeks you won't lose too much. Me now was 12 or so weeks without running, and the first 2 weeks back I felt miserable doing the marathon training. But then I did the Park West 5k on Tuesday. Got to see a lot of people there doing the Park West. Pauline and McKay, who joined us on the Barcelona trip, were there. They did the King of Greystones, actually. I think they're doing it now as we record this intro. A few other people I got to meet. John O'Regan, who was in the podcast a couple of weeks ago. Ashling there as well. Good few others that John blanks on that done marathon training and picked up on it. But the tempo runs, man.
Hold on a minute. Did I see people taking selfies with you? Were you signing?
They thought it was you, Eric.
Were you signing babies? Huh? What's going on? What's going on in the world?
I'm too shy to talk about that now, Eric.
Irish running mom on Instagram. I'm calling you out for taking selfies with Sean, thinking he's a celebrity.
I know. But the run itself, Eric, I don't know if I mentioned the podcast. When I started back running for the marathon, I was doing tempo, and I have an ego on me, so I thought my tempo was like 4:40, 4:45, and I could not hold that in like literally over 3k, and I was in bits. But then I did my warm up, and I was doing a 5-minute warm up, like going for 2-3k, and I had to pull myself back. And the reason was those damn vapor flies. I just feel like I'm bouncing them. Like it's just such a difference. And then doing the 5k, I took the David McCarthy approach, which was, I am not looking at this watch at all. Now, I knew sub 20 and stuff. I'm nowhere near that, and that was grand. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to run and feel. And I had no idea for the first 3-4k how I was doing. So much so that like 4.2k in, I was coming to the second last turn, and my head was going, I feel like I'm running fast. Is it on? Is this the day? Is this the day where I do it and I don't think about it, and it catches me by surprise, and I run sub 20, and I was like, look, 800 meters left. I have to look at the watch. I have to see where I'm at. And it was the first time, I swear to God, it was the first time I glanced down the watch, and then it said 20 minutes, 13 seconds, 14 seconds. I'm like, not today.
No. And you weren't making that up in 700 meters anyway?
No, absolutely not. So I actually think my pace probably went down there at the end. I was like, fuck this. But very enjoyable race. It was nice to get back into it. And I think I need more of that this year. Not race more, but just more running around people that forces you to push it a little bit harder and stuff like that. So that's my goal for the marathon this time. It's just to sign for more 5Ks, 10Ks, and try and be smart and build up my easy running and stuff like that, and like be smart around my training. But in those runs, okay, push a little bit harder, because I don't think I've done enough of that before. Now my tempo runs, I need to be smart. I need to be doing a 5 or 5:10 pace, would still be faster than my easy runs and my long runs, but not. And then it's a balancing act, trying not to get injured. Is what I'm going with here.
I suppose you can be clever with the likes of race, because people are like, oh, you're training for a marathon, why would you do a 5K? There's nothing saying you can't jog 5, 6, 7K to the race, and then use that as, right, what's my goal marathon pace, and I'm going to work hard now for 5K, but just to be surrounded by people or to go a bit faster, like it's and then do a 2-3K cool down. All of a sudden you've covered 10 mile in a day, you were surrounded by people, you got to put in a 5K effort in the middle of your run, obviously depending on what your coaching plan is. But I think it was mentioned on the podcast, someone said, look, they enjoy using like the park run as part of their long run because it's lonely. It is lonely when you have to do it.
Owen Sheehan said that. He used that.
Yeah, that's right.
His long run on Saturday, he'd go 5K by himself. He'd run with someone for another 5-10K. And then for that final 5K push was like, right, park run. And you run around people and you naturally find a way to run faster.
Yeah.
It's just the way there. But speaking of Dublin Marathon, we will have an episode on Thursday where I catch up with the gang, the Fantastic Four, and see how they're getting on their training. Week 3, week 4. Week 4 they'll be in. For the first quarter of the marathon training is somehow approaching. It's nearly over already. So we'll be catching in with all 4 and seeing how they're getting on with their training.
Yeah, this is the point in the training where panic begins to set in with people as well. Like if you're listening to us and you're on a 16-week plan and the first few weeks have not been so good, there is still time. There is still time. You may have to reassess your goals, but you don't have to do that now. You can definitely do that towards the end of the training, and when you get your long run in, you'll be able to kind of tell what's in the tank and what's not. So, but it is time to start thinking about being consistent. It's about getting out. It's about sticking to the just. As somebody said, Mick Fox says, Ricky wins. Just keep showing up. So book that appointment with yourself and just show up. It's going to get miserable right now at the end of summer. I believe the weather is okay. It's nice and warm.
It's not bad.
It's going to start to get miserable when you start to run longer. So you just have to kind of build, as I said at the start of this, those habits. So if it hasn't gone to plan or you've kind of gone, will I, won't I do it? There's still time. There is still time, and there is, it's if it hasn't gone too well, like yourself, you're kind of nursing an injury into the start of this block. So really, you're only getting going now that you've given yourself a green light. So there's many there that are probably in the same boat, but it's great to have a catch up with 4 people. The Fantastic Four is a great name as well. So we'll get the insights into other individuals who are on their marathon journey.
Sore legs after a long run? Aching muscles holding you back?
Meet your new training partner, Ultra Pure Essential Oil Muscle Rub Roll-On. Fast, effective recovery wherever you are.
Infused with 9 powerful essential oils and arnica, this vegan no-mess roll-on is perfect post-race, post-workout, or just winding down.
Roll this onto tired legs, arms, or back and massage in. Simple, soothing, and effective. Your muscles will thank you.
Made in County Mayo by an award-winning Irish family business, Ultra Pure means quality you can feel and trust.
Find Ultra Pure Essential Oil Muscle Rub Roll-On in pharmacies and health stores nationwide, or shop online on the new Ultra Pure store, ultrapurelabs.ie. By listening to this advert, you are supporting Irish businesses and this podcast. But for now, let's get back to the episode.
With that as well, just the first 3-4 weeks I find is when the routine really sticks. Okay, what runs have you missed and why have you missed them? Sometimes the case of I want to get the 6 a.m. run and I keep missing that 6 a.m. run. Well, there's no point in trying to keep pushing that 6 a.m. run. Find the time that suits you a little bit better. I was like, okay, I'm always getting the Monday evening one in, then that one needs to stick. I'm always getting this time in, that needs to stick. And I'm finding that myself. It's like, okay, these runs are sticking. And then I was struggling with time on already. Like on Thursday, I was trying to do a session, a couple of us, and the coaches trained together. And then later on going for a run, I'm like, that's not working. So that one just got nailed in the head. I'm like, that's too much not working. I need to recover into my Friday intervals. And the Friday intervals are starting to work now. My Wednesday tempo is working. I'm just finding that these are the time slots now that are starting to work. And I think that first 3-4 weeks is that. And then you get to push the gear a little bit more coming the next couple of weeks. But leading into our guest this week on the episode, a lot of people are using running as a means to build towards the Hyrox. I know Hyrox is the buzzword that some people love and hate the podcast, but it happens 2-3 weeks after Dublin. And there's a lot of people, not a lot, there are some people now that are training for Dublin Marathon. They're also planning to do Hyrox as well 2-3 weeks afterwards. And the question is that too much? Is that not? Is that just way too much to the body? We don't know. For some people that do it, and you see people online that get to do both, it's like, okay, they're able to do it. But as you'll find with our next guest, they've had a great running background, and the marathon training is not as taxing on them. Like our next guest is a sub 3 hour marathon, got a half marathon PB a month before that, and then 2 weeks later did such a good Hyrox Pro that she qualified for the World Championships in Chicago. And some people see that and go, okay, brilliant, I can do marathon training and that. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. But I think that the running background is huge.
Yeah, the endurance, and that's why people wonder why we talk about this, is because so many endurance athletes are switching from endurance into Hyrox or this kind of functional movement endurance event. Let's say that, you know, people kind of think of it, those who probably don't understand it see it as something else, but a lot of endurance athletes, triathletes are moving into this because it's the perfect complement of training between strength training and endurance training. And listen, they all wear no t-shirts for a reason, and everyone sees that and they're like, you know, maybe I want that instead of eating 24 gels on a Sunday morning. But look, it's fantastic, and there's a lot of Irish athletes who are really coming to the fore in this sport, just like our next guest. So it's always important to touch on it, because all of these same guests show up to your local half marathon, your local 10K, and are trying to win them. So it's the important thing to remember, that these are serious athletes, and they're training in a different way. And we all talk about cross training and this kind of training and that kind of training. And to be fair, they're all putting in that work and that strength and conditioning, and they're running well. So maybe there is something to it. But
do you know what it is?
Yeah.
I was going to say, what I'm noticing now in the gym and stuff, but when people got into running before, and I don't want to give Hyrox too much props in this, but I'm finding that like some people are getting into, they try to get into running before, they try a few times and didn't quite click. They're like, oh, I'm not a runner. And that's it, and go back to just, I'm talking about gym background people, like myself. And now it's kind of like, well, Hyrox is, the running's a part of it, so they have to find a way to get into the running. So now it's like, instead of having that mindset of I'm not a runner, it's like, I need to get my running in to complement all the exercise I want to do in Hyrox. So I haven't got the running down. I haven't a hope of this event because, like you said, it is an endurance event. And I think it's a great gateway into it. Like, even just go back to the Park Rest run. And now I'm not saying this because of Hyrox, but running in the last 3 years has gotten so popular. Like, I put up a post that I did the 5K in 20 minutes and 22 seconds. And I finished 17th in that, which is ridiculous. But then if I put that exact same time to what would have been this year, let's say I did 2022, I had a look for the crack, I wouldn't even been in top 60 because so many more people are running and they're getting faster, and some of it is true, and some of it is true Hyrox and stuff like that. They want to get faster times and stuff and leading into that, and some of it is just that running is getting very, very popular in these races, which is really cool to see. Either which way, it's great to see running getting bigger and bigger and more popular and more people doing these races and stuff, just like our next guest that's combining both running and Hyrox training.
Yeah, and that's enough said on us. And if Hyrox are listening and they're looking for two hosts for a podcast, €1 million or €1 million or get someone else onto the podcast. But look, this is a great guest, great insights and some real honest insights into their life, and it's a good listen. So that's enough from me and Sean, and I think it's time to get ready for this week's episode of the Any Given Run Day podcast.
Let's go. Our next guest on the Any Given Run Day podcast is an inspiration to a lot of people cross-training over the next few months. And that's not just because she has multiple podium place finishes around the country, including the first female home in last year's Run Galway Bay Half Marathon, Our next guest hit a sub 3 hour marathon in Dublin last year, and then only a few short weeks later, she finished third in her AG for Hyrox Pro and is recently back from the Hyrox World Championships in Chicago. Ciara Foy, welcome to this week's episode of the Any Given Monday podcast. How are you getting on?
I am good. Still kind of recovering from Chicago, but the exhaustion has kind of subsided. We're getting back to normal energy again, thank God.
Is that from the drinking or the lifting the weights, or what is it?
bit of both.
Hyrox Pro. See, Sean, you think they're pro, but they just drink more than us. We're not drinking.
The fuel's in the alcohol, isn't it? It's the alcohol lightweight. That's why I'm never that fast. That good Hyrox.
If we drank a bit more, Sean, we could be as good as Ciara.
I can't handle my drink. The hangover just makes me real bad night on that first round.
Oh God, it's been a while since I had an alcoholic beverage. I think the smell of it now would turn me off.
Ciara, you are very, very welcome to the podcast. Thanks so much for giving us your time. Obviously, Sean has mentioned so much, but what I always like to know is, as we start the episode, is where did this journey to sub 3 hours, world championships, running half marathons faster than I can do 10Ks, where did all this start for you?
Well, I suppose like growing up, I was never like just like a runner as such. It was more like football and GAA that my background kind of stemmed from. Played that for years and played with the lads as well, because at the time when we were growing up, there was not really a girls team till I kind of got to under 16s, I think it was. So I was kind of just playing football and did that for years, and then kind of decided after kind of when you got to secondary school, still playing sport and all, any sport you could in secondary school, then stopped playing football, and then kind of just got into more running because it was a bit more flexible with my time. You could do it when you want, you weren't as tied to a thing, and just kind of got fed up with the GAA. So that's probably where my sporting background came from. It wasn't actually originally running, but it kind of led into that.
You just mentioned there about playing with, like, I think we had 2 girls playing soccer with us up to the age of 11 because there was no other teams and stuff. Obviously, a lot of things in sport, when we're promoting having girls teams, we're promoting having that. But let's hope you were included a lot in that training session. Do you reckon mixing teams up to a certain age, boys and girls, can help the development of both? The boys and girls training together? Do you feel like training with boys up to a certain age gave you, because boys inherently, if you ever see brothers, if you ever see 2 boys doing anything competitive about till the nth degree against each other, do you reckon it gave you a competitive edge, or what do you think about
I'd say it probably
when you look back
did, because you didn't really have any choice, but you kind of had to toughen up a little bit because again, like, it was kind of just naturally like boys were a bit more like harder to play for, so you kind of had to, like, nearly you had to prove yourself that you're like, no, I'm just as good as you, so you did have to work that bit harder. Then it got to a certain age where, like, it was great that there was more girls showing interest in sport, and it was nice to kind of have your own gender you're playing with. But yeah, it did, like, definitely made you a bit of a harder player because you had to be able to take shoulder, I suppose.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Obviously, it's a contact sport, whereas, and I ask from a perspective of a girl in an athletics club, will be training with the boys all the time. When you look at track and field, there's a bit more exposure to that element, and it's unusual for girls teams. Particularly, there was for the most part, apart from the soccer, there was a girls team growing up. So I was just curious to see how that changed, and then obviously losing interest is a scary thing when you come from a small town in the GAA.
Yeah,
how was that for you?
Well, there wasn't really much other options really, like here in, like, where I'm from, it was kind of just you did GAA or you didn't really do anything. And I got to the stage where I was just like doing it for years, and like I was pretty decent at it. And I remember one of my friends at the time, I was asked to go play with the senior team, and I was kind of like, at this stage I had hang with my football boots, and I was like, oh, I don't want to. And then she was like, how do you not want to do this? I'm so jealous. You get to be in the position to go. And I was like, oh, you just go play for me, tell them I'm sick or something like that. I was like, I don't care that much. And she was like, because she really cared, she was so invested in it. And I was like, just say I'm sick and they have to bring you. And then that was it. And then I kind of just got into just running because I could do it in my own time, and I was just ended up being a naturally good runner without having to actually try that hard.
Need fuel that keeps up with your pace? Meet Perform's Carb Gel with 30 grams of fast-acting carbs, powered by 3 fuel sources for sustained energy when it matters the most. Packed with cluster dextrin for smooth digestion and a steady release. No spikes, no crashes.
All that in a compact 40 milliliter sachet, tested under Informed Sport, so you know it's clean and competition ready. Whether you're chasing the podium or just in an XPR, Perform Carb Gel gets you there faster, longer, stronger. If you're looking to stock up, you can use the code AGR to get 20% off your order.
By listening to this advert, you are supporting Irish businesses and this Irish podcast. Time to get back to the episode. When you did that, obviously it brought you up to your college years. Did running, so a lot of things can happen to a lot of people in college. I'm one of them. I went from I'm going to be a professional footballer to I'll outdrink and out eat a cheesy chip a bit quicker than anyone. That's the person I became for a couple of years. It wasn't
I think everyone kind of goes through that
idea.
stage. It's either you come out of it or you're still in it. And I was lucky enough to come out of that, I suppose. But it wasn't just as straightforward because I actually ended up developing a pretty bad poor body image, and I kind of got fixated on how I looked and how others perceived me. And I just got a lot of preoccupied with my food and ended up being on very restrictive diets and stuff. So unfortunately, before my running career actually got to where it was, I went through an awful lot of suffering, just my body being broken down from just low energy availability. So I got a lot worse before I actually got better.
And was this through a gym lifestyle, a running lifestyle, a social pressure, a social media pressure, or just a self-pressure from comparison?
Just I wouldn't say it was social media. I was lucky enough not to actually really be growing up around social media, as it wasn't as big as it was. It was kind of, I didn't nearly realize how obsessed I was becoming with it at the time. I was kind of I wasn't feeling good within myself. And it kind of led to, if I got smaller or skinnier, because you were kind of in a lot of diet culture at the time, and it was there'd be slogans going around of nothing feels better or nothing tastes better than what skinny feels like. And then you were kind of just all of them I was influenced by them kind of things as well, and Slimming World and Weight Watchers. And then kind of developed the belief that if I got smaller or skinnier, I would be happier within myself. And then others would nearly think that I'm a better person because I'm a smaller version of what I am. And it kind of just got to the stage where I got completely obsessed with it, and I was skipping meals, and I was kind of isolating myself from my friends, from social events. If they had suggested, we'll go here for food, I would become fixated of okay, what's on the menu? Can I eat that? Oh, well, if I don't eat this meal today, then I'd be able to bank my calories for later on. Because again, with diet culture was eat less and calorie deficit. So you were kind of I was starting to build a lot of restrictive habits that was in turn long term kind of got out of control. And it was only when I was really in the depths of it, I was okay, this is not normal. But at that stage, it was nearly too late, because I had shrunk myself down to nearly nothing, because I got that stage where I was if I lost X amount of weight, I'd be happy. Get to that weight, still wasn't happy. Okay, maybe it's because I need to lose more, and then get to that. And again, it's only when I got to nearly rock bottom, I was this is not going to make me happy. And no matter what size I get to, it's not going to do it. I just ended up getting really bad, I wasn't even got to the stage where I couldn't hold down food. I was getting sick. And I'm nearly kind of a bit holding back of some of the behaviors that I had at the time, because there could be people in a position that's listening to this that, because it would have been me at the time as well, I would get ideas from hearing other people. So I'm kind of a bit I don't want to go into too depth of the behaviors that I did develop, but it got to the stage where it was an eating disorder. And it was when I went down to the doctors, they had said, we need to do something here. There needs to be an intervention being made. And I was kind of at the stage where I was yeah, no, it's gone too far.
I know an eating disorder can target anyone. It can target men, it can target women, but it tends to be a little bit more prevalent in women, particularly on the under eating side.
Yeah.
Is there, like, we look at the percentages of things that affect men. We look at young males between the age of 18 and 30, and it's suicide tends to be the one. And we just passed through Men's Mental Health Month, and we talk about that, and everyone's raising awareness. When it comes to girls, there is a lot of elements of eating disorders and that elements of self-perceived pressure about weight and diet culture. Having been through it and having working with around ladies now, what is the thing? Like we always say for boys, we don't talk enough. We bottle things up, bravado, everything. What are the trigger points? What are the things girls need to look out for? And you might not have the answer. I'm just asking with genuine interest because I don't know where to start even looking myself.
Well, it's hard to say because especially with social media these days, I think there has to be really like really taking home that like what you see on social media is so fake, and comparison to what you see of this unrealistic expectation, because it's all seen through a filtered lens, and like what that person may look like on social media may not what they look like on in real life. And I think it's like you have to like acceptance of what you have and actually just gain confidence within yourself to be like, there is going to be a difference between every single women's bodies, and women's bodies will change completely over time depending on where they are in their menstrual cycle, age and everything. And if we just actually have more conversations and normalize that, and to recognize as like, okay, at this age you may look like this, but as you grow, hips widen, you're going to start to develop more, your bodies will change. And I think if especially with girls, if they know that was coming, they can actually accept that and not compare themselves to someone else. Because again, with girls, they can start to develop at different times, all around similar age, but it can be different at different times. So I think if they like educate them more around that, once you're aware of something, you can make sense of it, I always think.
Yeah, and they do say comparison is always the thief of joy. So the minute you start comparing, that's when the joy in yourself, the joy in the race, the joy in the time comes out of it. No different than I said about your half marathon time versus my 10. But that's a happy realization that I'll never be as fast. That's okay. I've accepted that fact. And it's great fun down the back here. You should try it a few times. You know,
you get value from money in those longer races.
That's true.
But it is good. And you transition, obviously strength is a huge part of your life. As you talk to us now, you're sitting in your gym. When did the shift towards, okay, skinny is goal versus strength is life. Strength is everything. Strength is important for women. Strength gives you energy. When did that transition happen for you?
So when I did start working with my therapist and regaining back my self-worth and everything, I actually wanted to be in a stage where I was like, right, okay, I want to be healthy now and I want to get my body right. And that's probably when I started, that's when I started, got to the stage where I was at a healthy BMI weight, and I wanted to get fit again, because I had to, I wasn't exercising or playing sports at that time. But I was like, okay, I want to try and get fit again. So I did that, and that's when I started to take up running. And as soon as I went out for my first run, I wasn't great at running at all. I struggled at a 5K, but I still absolutely loved it. And I was just like, this is what I want to do. I was like, right, I need to get myself like that I'm able to exercise, eat well, so it all kind of become hand in hand. And then wanted to try and get stronger. And I was talking to one of my friends, and they're like, oh, I started with PT and started doing weight training. And I was like, oh, I want to get stronger. I was like, I want to do that. So and I was still very young at the time. It was 31 now, and this was probably in my early 20s. And started with PT, and she was an amazing runner, ran for Ireland. And then I fell in love with exercise as well, then get stronger, lifting weights. I just felt good about myself again. And I ended up doing a lot of running with her. and just doing her training as well. And then I was like, oh, this is after helping me gain so much confidence back for myself. I want to go on and I want to do PT because I want to understand why was I squatting, like how was it helping me, like I just wanted to know everything I possibly could about exercising. So then I went and became PT, got my qualifications. Sorry, I've just like kind of went off it.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I surrounded myself with a lot of runners and people that was exercising, and you kind of realize like you're a product of your environment, and you start developing the habits that, like, you know, you surround people you surround yourself with. And at the time, I didn't realize, and I wasn't educated enough, because PT course is great, but they don't teach it enough. Like, you get the fundamentals, you get how to train people, you'll get like a very basic level of nutrition, but there's not too much detail in it. And so I was surrounding myself with a lot of people that did run and did exercise, and looking back now, all of us did have a bit of a dysfunctional relationship with exercise and fitness. And I suppose it was nearly just normalized because there was a good few people in the group that was doing it. And I remember, like, going back, there was like, in order to be a good runner, you had to be like lighter, and if you want to get faster, you need to be lighter, which, you know, did make sense, but like, it's not the way to go at all. And then another thing that kind of stood out that, again, I wasn't educated enough was, like, heard someone saying, like, oh, you know you're a good athlete if you lose your periods. And at the time, I didn't have a period. Now, I did have an implantation bar on my arm, so I knew that kind of stopped your periods as well. So I was like, oh, maybe it's just that or whatever. But I knew there was something still not right. And then I remember I was actually seeing a guy at the time as well. And there was something was said, it was like, oh, and I only date girls that would have a 6-pack. So again, I started to like not recognize it straight away, but I was influenced by all of these kind of like statements and stuff. And then I had started to kind of get a bit fixated then on what I was putting into my body and everything. And then I didn't really recognize at the time, because that's when I started to race, and my racing was going really well. So I was like, maybe this doesn't apply to me, like all of these things, because I'm getting good results in my races. I was like winning half marathons. I think the first 5K race I did, it was like just under 20 minutes. So I was like, this doesn't apply to me. I must be a bit unique, because I'm not actually experiencing any of the negative effects of, say, like low energy deficiency. And I would, even if I felt like I did, I'd convince myself of like, well, you're not tired because you're able to run at this speed and you're able to lift this amount of weight and you're able to give all these classes, because I was doing PT at the time. But part of me always did kind of feel like, you're a bit of a hypocrite here now, because you're doing PTs and you're encouraging your PT clients, you know, rest, refuel, recover. And as much as you think you're doing it, like, that little voice in my head was like, you're not actually doing it. But then again, there was always that fear, if I stopped doing it, would I be as good as what I was? And I was getting that positive reinforcement from the good results that I was getting. And it kind of like just became nearly my normal, because I was like, well, I'm just a highly active person. I have the bar in my arm. That's why I don't have my periods. And it just became like my usual routine. Even though I always kind of knew deep down, like, this was controlling me, I wasn't in control of it. Because if someone, like, I'd have resting, but I would not enjoy it. I'd be like very like uncomfortable having it. Like, if someone had back then said to me, you need to take 2 days off, you can't train for a week, I know that I'd lose my life. Like, I would, like, so then I kind of knew deep down I was doing too much, but again, I didn't have as much of the negative symptoms. So I was like, no, I'm fine. Or I kept kind of kicking the can down the road. I'll rest next week. Next week will come. It did. But then actually COVID hit at this stage, and everything was like really
mandatory rest.
Yeah.
It was only brought in just to save you, Ciara, to be fair.
And yeah, it was kind of actually the breaking and it was the making of me. So at the start, COVID hit, everything shut down, nobody knew what was going on. And my PT that I was working with at the time, she actually gave me equipment. So then I was like, what am I going to do? I was like, well, at least I can exercise. I have this stuff here. But part of me was like, but I still wanted to help other people as well, because I knew everyone else was all restricted. So I started doing live workouts. And a bit of it was like, so it would motivate me to exercise, but I would also help other people as well. And everyone was only delighted. So I was like, right, okay, killing two birds with one stone here. I'm getting to exercise. I'm helping other people. It's giving me something to do. But then as time went on, I had to actually give the equipment that I had back. And then that's when I really started to spiral. I was like, okay, what am I going to do now? We can only go 3 kilometers distance within our house. I can't exercise. I have nothing to exercise. I'm going to, it's like mad. Like when you're suffering from eating disorder, your brain is not functioning properly. You have all these completely irrational, intrusive thoughts. I was like, I'm going to lose all my strength. Like it all started to like completely spiral out of control. And that's when I realized, I was like, okay, I'm not over this. And my eating disorder habits and behaviors did come back and came back worse, because it was pretty much like I couldn't control anything else, but I could control this. So I was like, well, I don't in my head, I was like, I don't have a choice. This is what I have to do in order to try and maintain whatever bit of physique I did have. And I got to the stage where I was like feeling just completely rock bottom. And I reached out to my best friend at the time, because like, I would find it very hard. Like a lot of people wouldn't even know this story, but like if it helps one person, I'm like all for it. I would find it very hard to be vulnerable, because I would always be like that person, the strong person. I was just like, oh. And then I felt like a bit of an imposter, because I was like, I can't tell people what I was going through, because I was in like a fitness instructor and I was meant to be like living this healthy lifestyle. And from an outside perspective, I was, but like internally, I wasn't. But I reached out to my friend anyway. She was just like, look, we're here now. We're gonna get you the help. And then I went to the doctors and I started seeing specialists. And then that's when I really realized like the impact of what, from the years of overtraining, what it actually did to my body. And I started like from my own learning, like getting books about like Dr. Stacey, like Women Aren't Small Men, Lara Biden, the period repair model. There's loads, like thank God now, Food Medic is another brilliant one as well. Dr. Hazel Wallace. It's all about hormone health and female health and how important it is. But I got to the stage where I was had to get scans done, had to get MRIs done, and I got my DEXA scan, and I actually had osteopenia. So osteopenia is basically a disease where it's brittle bones, but it would usually impact elderly women because their bodies isn't producing estrogen. Now, I was lucky enough to get, it was osteopenia. It wasn't fully osteoporosis. Osteoporosis isn't reversible, whereas osteopenia is. So I was lucky enough at that stage that that's what I had, but it was due to REDS and no energy availability. Basically, for years, my input wasn't matching what I was expending, and my body started to shut down non-essential organs, you could say. So your reproductive system, it's not essential for survival, but it's essential for bone growth, because that's how your body produces estrogen, and you need estrogen in order to have strong bones. And like at the time, like back then, I never knew any of this. We weren't taught this in college. It was all kind of just, when I got to the stage, I was like, oh, I really did not know the damage that I was doing to my body. And again, because as I mentioned before, I had the implantation in my arm. And before COVID had started, I did get that bar out, because again, as I said, I always had a feeling that something wasn't right. And then eventually afterwards got the bar out, still didn't get periods, got the diagnosis with osteopenia, and then I was actually diagnosed with HA. So HA is hypothalamic amenorrhea, and again, it's loss of period due to not having enough fuel for your system. And there's actually two different types of it. So I always like say there's primary and secondary. I was secondary because I had a period and then it stopped because I wasn't fueling myself sufficiently. But there is primary amenorrhea, just for if girls at stage where if they get to say 15 and they still haven't developed a period, that's primary amenorrhea. That means that whatever they're doing isn't enough fuel for their bodies, for their essential needs. Like, as much as like people, like women, I hear them saying like, oh, if your period is an inconvenience, it's really not an inconvenience. I actually kind of feel sorry for men because they don't have that sign every month to say, okay, your body is functioning properly. Whereas women actually have that sign to say, like, if you get a period every month, your body is doing what it's meant to do. Whereas if you don't get it, that's a really good sign. It says like something's happened, whether you're overstressed because of over-exercising or overstressed because you're under-fueling, or just from other lifestyle factors that you could be stressed. It's your cortisol is too high. So if your cortisol is too high, it stops the release of your reproductive hormones from being releasing, because your body is kind of in survival mode. So it's like, I need to sort out this. I don't have the capacity to grow a baby. So we're just going to shut down that symptom. So there is different ways it can be affected, but it's just really good if you don't get your period sometime in the month, like reflect and look back, okay, why is this happening? Did I overdo it this month? So it's just a good, that's why I do feel sorry for men in that way. They don't have that sign.
I don't think I told herself that now, that, oh, you're lucky. Once a month. I don't think she'd take it that way.
That is a brave man that's going to say that. But I am a brave man.
Like,
I'm going to put that in the pocket now.
Ciara, during all this, you said that when you got out of PT courses, and I don't think people realise that a PT course is an inch deep and a mile wide. It's a small bit of everything. And you're in that circle. And when everyone gets in that circle, like, I want to do this, this, and this. And we all get, as much as you think we got free will, you all get pulled different ways from whatever influences you have. And you're down this road. Did you at the time know of others down this road with you at the same time? Or did you felt alone? Did you know other people you're like, we're overtrained and be able to open up and talk about these things going through it? Because like, only when you talk about it there, and I've seen posts recently saying, oh, this whole skinny, that I don't want to mention names and stuff, is coming back, and people are afraid that influence is going to come in, because everything, unfortunately, fitness, everything's in cycles.
It's unfortunate now. It's getting that skinny is coming back now. I can see it even in my Instagram, and I'm very like particular about what I follow. If it's not educational content, I won't follow it. But it is starting to come back. It's like, oh yeah, the skinny is like is the new trendy body. That's like there's always going to be trends,
which is mad, because like running is getting big now, and Hyrox, that we'll get into in a few minutes with yourself, is getting absolutely huge. And like, you had a great quote, it was like, you went from wanting to be the smallest to now wanting to be the strongest. So in my mind, it's going that way. But now I'm seeing people are going, actually, no, you're looking around, not the wrong circles, the right circles, I suppose. But over here, this skinny trend is actually starting to make a comeback.
I know, and I'm really, like, I am really scared about that. And that's why even like I have a lot of young girls that come into me, and I will openly talk to them about their periods and tell them how important it is, and that like, what your body looks like is not a reflection of who you are. And you want the more that you fuel your body like sufficiently, the better your results are going to be. And not just your performance, your brain will function better. Like, the majority of our fuel that we put into our body, our brain needs just even to process things. Like, so you're not going around with brain fog, so you can actually learn, like, that you can retain information in what you say. It's not just about your output either. Like, that's why it's so important to fuel yourself, especially like even like girls around exam times and everything. It's like, you need like to push as much food as you possibly can in order to get the good results.
How common is this among girls and women that, you know, they're overtrained, they're missing periods, reds is coming in? Like, the conversations you have with your clients and stuff, like Eric said, where, you know, you've got the PT studios and stuff behind you, you're working with coaches and all the rest. How common is this, do you think? Or is it a case of it's just the 1% are just You know,
No,
they're
I
just
do think it's very common, and I do think it's because people aren't educated enough around it, and they don't think it's as big as a deal as it actually is.
right.
Like, and especially like even for like, I do think anyone coaching girls or boys should educate themselves on how to fuel how they should fuel in order to perform, and especially with girls, because boys will kind of have like a 24-hour hormonal cycle that they'll go through, so they don't from a physiological standpoint, they kind of can get away with things a little bit more than what girls can. But I always, and I'm biased because I'm a girl myself, but I just for coaches understanding with girls, when they are going through your menstrual cycle, so the week leading up to your periods, like you might find that your mood is a little bit lower because your brain is actually producing different hormones in order for it to like grow and release an egg and grow an egg and all of that kind of stuff. And then it's actually like preparing itself to grow a baby, right? It's just the cycle that goes through. So your ligaments and tendons are going to be a bit more like, they're going to be a bit more flexible. So say, just for like a scenario, girls might have a football training and they're leading up to their periods. Their reaction time is going to be a little bit slower, and their coordination is going to be a little bit slower. It's not just going to be as fast because there's more elasticity in their ligaments and tendons around their joints. So that coach is not going to know that, and they could turn around and say to them, Ciara, what's going on? Last week you're on top form. Now you're not. You're missing the ball. You're all over the place. Like, there's something wrong. You're going downhill instead of uphill. And that may turn a girl off wanting to do it, because then she's going to believe like, oh God, maybe I'm not that good at football. Maybe like, am I not doing something right? And that could end up turning them off sports because they believe that they're not good enough.
Is the right answer then to train 2 weeks or 3 weeks? Do you go that around? Do you do that then around a cycle, or what way do you go? What way would you do it then for female clients stuff coming in the early 20s, stuff like that? Would you work around that, or how do you do it?
Yeah, so I will, like, it's a lot easier for me because I'm more of a one-to-one basis. So I can come in, the client, I'll, they feel so comfortable talking to me. I'm like, right, okay, how are you feeling this week? Because some people don't even know about their like when their menstrual cycle is going to come, when they're going to get the period. I'm like, how are you feeling this week? They're like, oh, I'm a bit more tired, whatever. And I know how their body will kind of move. Like, are you due your periods? She's like, oh my God, that makes sense. I was like, okay, so we're just going to focus a bit more core stability work, more slower work. We'll spend a bit more time going like maybe a bit like lower reps, that we're not putting too much stress on your body. So then, and then by the next week come in and be like, right, okay, let's go. We're going back to our hard training. You're ready to go. You're feeling good again. You're at a different stage of your menstrual cycle. Let's go. They're back to normal. And then they're aware of that going forward. So we can always kind of play around. Now that's easier for me because I'm only dealing with one. So when a coach is kind of dealing with like a whole team, it's a little bit harder because 10 girls could be on this week, another girls could be during a period the next week. It'd be very hard. But even if they're just aware that, okay, Ciara's not playing great this week, I'll just go in and check on her. Are you okay? She's like, yeah, I'm just feeling a little bit tired or whatever. Keep an eye and take a mental note of it. And then say next week coming in, oh, she's back on form there. Right, okay. That makes sense. There's nothing wrong there. So at least if they're aware that some, especially with girls, that they may not perform at their best throughout their whole month, but once it's not reoccurring every single week, they're like, it's fine.
I'll ask this on two perspectives. We mentioned the coaching perspective and the individual perspective. Obviously, you one-to-one, it's lady with lady. It's an easier conversation to have. Sean, for example, goes into his class. How does he manage expectations of? We've touched on it, but I'm trying to see what the solution is when we talk about football team coaches or when we talk about big groups of people. How do we normalize a conversation about the training element, about noting that? And then how do you as a coach maintain the competitive edge as well? Because there's certain elements of coaching styles. Everyone has a coaching style where you have to push people. You have to push people to do a little bit, and then the athlete recognize I'm not on form because of X, Y, and Z, and then a discussion, or I'm trying to just figure out, because it's so complex. There's no answer we're going to find.
It is very complex, and I do think
my brain is just like, how would I do this?
Yeah, 100%, because it's a lot harder from a male even talking about it, because like it's something that like they would feel awkward talking about it. But I think as a coach, we have the responsibility to get as much out of our clients or whoever we're training as we possibly can. So we need to get comfortable within ourselves to talk about this, because at the end of the day, we want to get the results. So we kind of have to leave like how awkward conversation like that make us feel. And then the more you do talk about having these conversations, the more normal it gets. And I think if everyone could just start talking about it, it will just be like, so how's the weather conversation and that sort of thing. And again, I think to even make it like a bit more like private, because everyone's not going to want to know, like if you could just even like say coming in and train and someone could like just sign like a thing, there's like a little like kind of questionnaire or something like that. And just so like the coach can have it like, all right, okay, that would make sense. But then you're kind of going, okay, well, she might not be performing here, but next week now we still need her to be on point of like, here, look at like you're not using this as an excuse either, but you need to put the effort in. But I can understand it.
Probably where technology might help ease the conversation, because if 100%. You can track and say this is it, you don't have to have a conversation about it. A coach can still push, and before they start screaming, can take a quick look and go, right, what is everyone looking at? Because I'm just looking at, you know, like at what point do you draw the line? Like someone is at that certain period, you've got a big game. Do you play them? Do you not play? You know, how much does it start to affect then decision making when it comes to women's sports? Yeah, and it's bizarre because in boys' sports,
that's it. And we're very complex.
But then technology might help.
Player as well. It's like, right, it's like, no, this is happening, but I'm telling you now, like, I know if it was me and me with my competitive edge, I'm like, yeah, it's happening, but I'm ready to go. Like, put me on that pitch. I will give my best. If you don't think I'm performing my best, then we can change it. But I want to be here and I want to put in the effort.
But I suppose we're more talking about the developmental stage, the when the pressure is off, the gym, the structure, the everything else to help rest, to help recovery. And look, when the games come, obviously, ladies, if the marathon day comes and it happens, the ladies go and do it, in fairness, phenomenal. And what they do, even during pregnancy, is absolutely phenomenal. Me and Tom were passed out by, I think, 2 or 3 pregnant women on our first attempt at Dublin Marathon.
And like, and that's why I've learned, like, we have to respect our bodies from what they can do. Like, they're absolute. When you learn, the more I even learn about like women's body, is what I kind of mostly do, the more I'm like, our bodies are amazing. I need to respect and treat it and give it the energy it needs in order for it to be able to perform and do what it can do.
Ciara, with all that in mind, and with I'm trying to phrase the right way of saying this without going on an attack, but you've talked about overtraining and everything you've struggled with to now, and then in a space a couple of months you're training for a sub 3 hour marathon, as well as Hyrox, and you've done the hit at sub 3 hours is fucking phenomenal, and then 2 weeks later to do Hyrox. Now I know Hyrox is a running event, but man, you got the training of the sleds, you got to get strong for the sleds, you got the wall balls, the constant going on that, and some of the sessions are taxing. I see people that are Hyrox athletes that just do Hyrox. You're like, oh, you can't, like, they do the sims and stuff all the time and train for that. But then when you're training for marathons, we're marathon season now, and the long runs and stuff, and trying to recover that and get your intervals in. How did you combine the both, and how did you, was there times you were thinking, hang on, I might actually be overtraining here? I know you're working with a coach and stuff. Did you work with a coach with both in mind? I have a phenomenal coach. Both in mind, and how did you work around this overtraining to get to where you're getting to?
So, like, not gonna lie, that fear was there. And would I recommend everyone to do what I do? Absolutely not. But I have a grit in me, and I don't think anything from my background and what I've went through and the struggle of how hard that was, it gave me so much strength to actually make me the person I am today. Because there was days that I didn't think I was going to get through, like, eating that bit more, and like, it was a very dark place, and I never want to go there again. And even when it came back to my training now, when it was increasing, I was like, made sure that I was matching what I was like put, like my what I was inputting in or expending, I was like literally matching that what was going into my body. And I used that as my strength because I was like, I know I can do this. If I do this right, I can do this. And I want to like not prove to myself, but like be proud of myself is how much I got, like how I got out of that hole I was in. I use that nearly for fuel as well for it, because I was like, I missed out on a lot of years where I could have been like a much better athlete than I was today. But it was kind of the thing that like I was doing it for that younger me to know that I was like, I still have that drive in me. The fear was always there with like going back to overtraining, but I had a really good coach, and I still have them in coach, and Joe from Wolfhound in Mullingar. He knew my background and he believed in me. And if I was struggling, I'd voice to him, I'd be like, don't know if I can do this session. And I was like very clever with it. It's like, as much as I was training, if I felt like I needed that rest, that extra day rest, I would take it. And I would always like eat before I train, eat after I train. My sleeping was so good. I was like literally ticking all the boxes because I knew I was like, this is a big risk I'm taking. But I was like, it kind of goes to show, if you follow the process to your goal and respect what your body can do an awful lot.
What is this process in terms of a training week? Because like the start of October, you hit a 125 half marathon, you build to the end, the sub 3 hour marathon 2 weeks later. You're talking the Hyrox Pro weights, by the way. That's 3 phenomenally difficult races in the space of 6 weeks training into. So somewhere in the middle of September, like what does a weekly mileage looking at? You doing 2 a days? How are you training Hyrox in there? What would a training week? Because there's people listening to this now when this comes out that are running a Dublin marathon and are going to do Hyrox in a couple of weeks' time after that. And the coaching part of my head goes, well, shit, that's a lot. But then the other side of me goes, well, Sean, you're being a hypocrite if you say that, because you've done stupid races back to back as well. So to those people listening, what would you recommend in terms of a training week and getting the highs, lows, deloads and everything goes with it?
So what I would say is, it sounds a lot when you put it all together in that, but I had a very strong running background, and running came quite natural to me. So I didn't have, like, my mileage was high, but it actually wasn't extremely high in comparison to what some marathon training
built up to it before the start of 16 weeks. You're a decent base. You had a great base starting those 16 weeks of Dublin, whereas someone might start those 16 weeks and have a shit base and go, well, Hyrox is coming as well.
If someone was like that, it's like, don't do both. Like, it's not. And that's where nearly the comparison comes in. It's just like, don't compare what I did back then to what you do, because again, I actually, like, my running volume was high with Hyrox, but it had such a high build up, I didn't have to do as much. So I was probably covering around, say, September to October would have been your high mileages, but it was still about maybe 60, 70 kilometers a week. While, so again, like when you're talking about marathon, it's not that much.
Agreed.
But I had a very good like training base with running.
And with your training base then in terms of Hyrox, would you be doing 2 to 3 strength sessions and Hyrox base work once, twice a week? Or would it be more kind of the 90-minute kind of Hyrox kind of stuff 2-3 times? Like how is, honestly, how is that week leading, those couple of weeks and months leading up to Hyrox?
To be honest with you, I wasn't really specifically training for Hyrox. Like, not specifically. I was kind of like, Dublin marathon was kind of, I was like, right, okay, I'll do that. My actual goal was the half marathon in October. Again, I have been training for years, just so everyone knows this. And I've been kind of doing functional. I was training for Hyrox before Hyrox was even a race. And I was doing that kind of similar training for hybrid athletes. Became very popular.
Don't you mention CrossFit. Don't mention CrossFit.
But my goal was actually the half marathon. And then I got into the Dublin Marathon, so I was like, oh, sure, look, I might as well do that. I had zero pressure. I was not planning on doing a sub-3. It was only the week beforehand. I was like, I might give this a go now, because I was training with a lot of the lads that were training for the marathon. And I had done the marathon before, and I did 3:30. That was my first one. So I was kind of like, you know what? I'd be happy with like even a 3:10 or whatever. And then it was only leading up to, I was chatting to my lads, they're like, I think he could do a sub-3. And I was like, oh, sure, I'll see how it goes. So he was planning on doing a sub-3. He'd probably kill me for saying this now, but anyway, he was planning on doing a sub-3. So I was like, sure, look, I'll start with you and we'll see how it goes. I'm not really pushed. And because again, I had only gotten the ticket for Hyrox about 3 weeks before this.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, it was probably in around that time. Anyway, so I did start off the marathon with him, and I was like, this is class or whatever. He ended up getting injured in the marathon, didn't do sub-3, and I did sub-3. So I was kind of like, I took your time, but anyway.
I'm sure he was proud of you, and he wasn't at all envious.
He was so proud. He was delighted. And then I was like,
I'd be pissed. Like, you should have stopped and helped me. Watch keep running, bro. I would have been so pissed.
I was like,
race.
Are you coming or whatever? He just looked at me and I was like, see you after. And then actually I had the Hyrox, and I was like, I wanted to do the Hyrox, and I did want to do like sub 70 in it, but I was kind of like, look, it's my first Hyrox race. I'll go out and
your first Hyrox race to pro.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, no, that I did a doubles with a friend that asked me to do it, that I didn't even know what Hyrox was. I genuinely hadn't a clue. She's like, will you do Hyrox with me? And I was like, don't know what it is, but I'll do it with you. I will be the type of person, if you asked me to come for an ultra run tomorrow, I'd be like, okay, let's go. That's kind of my personality kind of thing. So I did the Hyrox doubles with her, and I was like, this is brilliant. I'm gonna do Dublin. So I had it in my head I was always going to do Dublin, but I was like, I have a competitive edge in me, so I was like, if I'm doing it, I'm doing pro. Like, so I just kind of signed up for that, and then I ended up, I think I was third in my age category, but I was first Irish in my age category, and I like got the podium. But like, all of them goals were kind of unintentional. It's because I had like a strong base built up to it that I was used to doing all of that. And I was I can like confidently say I was at the stage where I was like, my body is I'm fueling myself properly. I know I can do this.
So you will be of the opinion that something like a Hyrox is not purely, but like it's 70% running and then like strength training and quote unquote functional stuff from there.
Yeah.
Straight after the pro, third AG, did that give you the qualification then to go to Chicago?
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, you're doing World Championships. Have you scratched the marathon itch and you're happy with that? And now you're all in this Hyrox, or will we see you starting on Dublin again this year?
Like, it's possible. I'm kind of like, after doing the Worlds, like my training has been very like structured for Worlds, Hyrox, and it was kind of all for that, and it was very like not like it was rigid because I had to do a certain amount because again I wanted to perform well at the Worlds. And right now I will compete. I don't know what I'm going to compete in, but it's nice to actually just be like, I don't have that pressure of Anton. I want to kind of spend it somewhere like just enjoying training. If someone randomly asked me, do you want to do this? I would be able to do it. That's not going to, like, I don't have to stick to such a rigid plan. There's a good chance you'll see me in Dublin, and there's a good chance you'll see me in Hyrox.
I'll probably see you 2 weeks before that in Trika and the ATEX and all these other things coming in over the next couple of months.
I'm half kind of looking for a Clontarf half marathon entry. So,
yeah, if anyone out there knows anyone, half one.
But again, what I will reiterate that, like, don't compare what someone's doing to yourself. Like, it has to be like, be smart with your training. Like, just because some one person does it, you never know what they've like done to get to that extent. So don't just see someone, Ciara did all them, if I do all them. Like, you know, it has to be personalized to you.
Ciara, it's been absolutely fantastic listening to you on your Hyrox journey and everything else that went before that. What would be, so you've gone down this path with women's health and everything else because you've been through it, and it's mad how that happens to PTs. Like I thought I'd be training elite athletes and stuff like that, and the closest I got was
saying,
Eric.
Sean? You're saying me.
See, I got that line in before you said it.
What do you mean? You're saying it like it's a letdown. What's wrong with you?
Forgot me damn question now for that.
You're so dazzled by my abilities.
To sum it up, you've got everything you're doing, and you're Hyrox, you're running all the rest. Instagram have gone on to you, and there's like you've got one post, and it goes out to all your Instagram followers, and it's your one message in fitness. What would it be?
So food is fuel for your body. Respect what your body can do, and just if you treat your body well, it'll treat you well back.
Brilliant.
And it's not about, don't judge your self-worth about what your body looks like, because it is so much more important for like that your body is functioning properly for your health.
Definitely a message that needs to be said. Ciara, thank you very much. And that is it for this week's episode of the Any Given Monday podcast with myself, Ciara, and Eric. Take care.
Thank you.